Hello and welcome to TVB News. Former lawmaker Lam Chuk-ting and 6 others were found guilty of rioting during a Yuen Long mob attack in July 2019. Timothy Lee tells us more.
The verdict was reached today for the trial that lasted for more than 50 days. 6 suspects, including Kwang Ho Lam, arrived at the district court on their own this afternoon, while Lam Chuk-ting was taken to court in a prison van. The case involves former lawmaker Lam and 6 others being charged with rioting at Yuen Long MTR station on July 21, 2019. Judge Stanley Chan explained the reasoning behind the sentences, saying lawful gatherings could become illegal and violent over time. He added that while physically appearing at the site of the riots is not illegal, the verbal act of encouraging the rioters is an offense. Lam Chuk-ting, who was a lawmaker and district councillor at the time of the incident, said he arrived on site to help mediate. However, the judge noted Lam's well-known political stance and doubted his ability to actually calm the rivaling parties on July 21st. The judge said he thinks Lam was doing the opposite on that date. The judge described the 7 suspects' involvement simply comprised the first part of the riots, as white-clad individuals were engaged in physical attacks afterwards. Lam also made 3 social media posts at the time containing politically charged rhetoric, which judicial authorities believe attracted more people to the MTR station. The former lawmaker also told the crowd not to back down in Yuen Long, which the judge said worsened the situation. The judge said Lam arrived at the scene for political gain and criticized the large number of armed individuals at the station, which aimed to rationalize acts of violence. Lam appeared calm after the sentence was handed down. According to the law, acts of rioting could result in a maximum sentence of 10 years in jail. The former lawmaker, who was also involved in a separate subversion case, was earlier sentenced to 6 years and 9 months behind bars. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee is on the 2nd day of his duty visit in Beijing. Lee met with the representative of the Hong Kong General Chamber of Commerce in China. He indicated that the group will facilitate opportunities for Beijing and Hong Kong's business cooperation. The council said some of its members hope to see the Hong Kong government provide more tax concessions for talented people in the science and technology field. The council also said that Beijing and Hong Kong are like family to each other. Lee also met with representatives from top Chinese universities, including Tsinghua and Peking University. They shared an overview of the situation of Hong Kong students studying in Beijing. The progress of graduates from those universities participating in the Top Talent Pass scheme was also discussed. Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan will depart for Beijing tomorrow to join Chief Executive John Lee on his duty visit. The CS will depart at dusk after attending an event for the National Memorial Day for Nanjing Massacre victims. During Chan's stay in Beijing, he's expected to join Lee in meetings with ministries. Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration Werner Chuk will be the acting Chief Secretary for Administration during Chan's absence. Phone fraud has become increasingly common in the city. The police recorded 874 cases of fraud involving scammers pretending to be officials during the first 10 months of this year. That's more than double the amount of cases reported last year. Celine Chan reports.
Despite efforts to educate the public about how not to fall prey to scammers, fraud cases are still on the rise. During the first 10 months of this year, a total of 36,405 cases of fraud has been recorded. That's a 7% increase compared to the same period last year, with financial losses amounting to over $7 billion. Out of these, cases of scammers impersonating government officials saw a 12% increase compared to the first 10 months of 2023. Total financial losses doubled, with the largest case involving $260 million. 30% of victims are university students, mostly students from the mainland, including victim Ms. K, who came to Hong Kong in August. She received phone calls from scammers claiming to be officials from the mainland accusing her of money laundering, saying her assets were frozen and she was restricted from entering and leaving the territory. Fraudsters then asked for 500,000 yuan so that priority would be given to her case. The victim lied to her parents, saying she needed money for tuition and got the sum. Following the scammer's instructions, she took the high-speed train to Guangzhou and paid the scammers 500,000 yuan in cash. She was later instructed to go to Thailand for safety purposes and was required to change hotels every 1 to 2 days. The scammers then called her parents, claiming she was kidnapped, and asked for a ransom of 10 million yuan. Her parents reported the case to Hong Kong officials and rescued the victim with the help of Interpol and the Chinese consulate in Thailand.
So police reinstate that if anyone claimed to be mainland police and call you, it must be a scam. If anyone claimed to be a law enforcement agent and ask you to make transfer or cease your communications with family members or friends, it must also be a scam. If anyone claimed that you are involved in a secret investigations and you cannot disclose it to your family, it must also be a scam.
The police said if residents are in any doubt, don't hesitate to call the police hotline 18222 to seek assistance. Celine Chan, TVB News.
Macau's chief executive designate Sam Ho-Fai said in an interview that he would put effort into pursuing appropriate economic diversification. Danny Zhou has the story.
The 62-year-old Sam Ho-Fai, ex-president of Macau's Court of Final Appeal, is due to take office as the new chief executive on December the 20th. Sam has underscored his visions of developing a rule of law Macau, vibrant Macau, cultural Macau, and happy Macau in the next 5 years. He said members of the public have expressed their concerns over how to further enhance governance in the Macau SAR. On the economic side, he said the promotion of appropriate diversification should be based on the operations of small and medium-sized enterprises. The goal is to improve the economic structure and have an orderly development across various sectors. When asked about his insights into the topic, Sam noted the new administration needs to take early steps to coordinate and remain proactive. In addition, the incoming CE is seeking to build a cultural base that features Macau's unique blend of East and West. The base will establish itself as an appealing cultural and tourism complex in the Asia-Pacific, Sam said. He noted that Hong Kong has its own Palace Museum showcasing some of the precious relics selected from Beijing. He suggested that Macau explore the possibility of setting up an outpost of the National Museum of China. Sam also vowed to expedite connectivity projects between Macau and other cities in the Greater Bay Area. He expects to work out an arrangement with Hong Kong to streamline arrival procedures for international travelers heading to Macau. Sam added that the Macau SAR's fiscal reserves have amassed over 610 billion batakas as of September this year, a record high in the history of the city. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
In Syria, insurgents have set fire to the tomb of former President Hafez al-Assad. This comes as Syria's regime took over Damascus International Airport, the largest in the country, and expressed hope they could quickly return it to full operational capacity. Elsewhere, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer discussed the future of Syria in the House of Commons. Daniel Rowell tells us more.
Insurgents set fire to the tomb of Syria's former president Hafez al-Assad in his hometown in the northwest of the country. Videos circulating online appear to show men inside the tomb and flames. The Associated Press was told the tomb was set on fire on Wednesday in the town of Kardaha in Latakia province. Hafez Assad had ruled Syria for 30 years until his death in 2000, when his son Bashar succeeded him. Both ruled Syria with an iron fist and were blamed for crackdowns that left tens of thousands dead, mainly in the central city of Hama in 1982 and in much of the country since the civil war in 2011. Bashar al-Assad was ousted over the weekend and fled to Russia, where he was given political asylum. Meanwhile, Syria's new administration has taken over the country's main international airport after security forces of the deposed Assad government and staff withdrew, grounding flights and stranding passengers. The airport has not been functional since. Security members of the rebel alliance in control of Syria are hoping to restore security and the legitimacy needed to restart flights out of the Damascus International Airport and from one of the country's 3 international airports. A security official with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the faction that led the shock offensive that led to the fall of Assad, said the Syrian capital's international airport is the center and most important institution in Damascus. Cleaning staff are removing broken furniture, glass windows and rubbish from ransacking by looters following the demise of the Assad regime. The attack, reportedly by mobs and looters from the neighbouring areas, left parts of the airport halls destroyed. The new regime expressed hope the airport would be operational in less than a week. Elsewhere, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer addressed the House of Commons about Syria's future at the weekly Prime Minister's Questions. Starmer welcomed the fall of ousted Syrian leader Assad, but added his government has been speaking with allies about how to ensure Syria's new government rejects violence and finds political solutions to problems in the country.
We all welcome the fall of Assad. I hope this can be a turning point for Syria, and that is why we've been speaking intently and intensely with our allies in the region across the globe about how we ensure that this is peaceful, it is political, and it's a rejection of terrorism and violence. This could be a
Dan Orell, TV News.
Welcome back. The opposition in South Korea have submitted a new motion to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol. Parliament will vote on Saturday. Yoon survived the first attempt to impeach him last weekend and has defended his decision to impose martial law. David Garrett reports.
Some want to see Yoon Suk-yeol locked up, not just removed as president of South Korea. The Confederation of Trade Unions led this latest protest in favour of impeachment. Huge numbers marching through the streets of Seoul, demanding at the very least for the president to go and go now. Most here want Yoon impeached for implementing martial law last week. President Yoon is not going down without a fight, vowing to carry on and stand tall. Yoon said, "I was trying to defend South Korea's democracy and constitution against legislative tyranny by the opposition," he said in an address before Parliament met to discuss his future today. He continued, "I saw it as the only option, but is that rebellion? A president's declaration of emergency martial law is an act of governance." Opposition lawmaker Kim Min-syuk questioned the president's mental state, once more calling Yoon delusional. The main opposition have submitted a new impeachment motion against him. It will be put to the floor on Saturday evening and will need the support of at least 8 members of the ruling People Power Party. The previous one failed when most politicians from Yoon's PPP party walked out. Parliament has voted to impeach National Police Chief Cho Ji-ho and Justice Minister Park Sun-jae. Both are suspended from duties. In another vote of 195 to 86, a bill was passed which allows a special counsel to investigate Yoon on rebellion charges, which he denies. Yoon describes the opposition Democratic Party as bullies, saying their conduct is the main reason behind his decision to impose martial law. More good-natured protests continue daily in the capital and beyond. These demonstrators hope People Power will force Yoon to resign. They say he must step down after the chaotic 6 hours of martial law. Most demonstrators want him gone immediately. Yoon has vowed to fight until the end. David Garrett, TVB News.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has reportedly invited President Xi Jinping to attend his inauguration ceremony in Washington next month. Beijing has yet to give a formal response. Meanwhile, the Biden administration has announced to double the tariffs on Chinese solar wafers and polysilicon products starting from January 1st. Danny Zhou reports.
CBS News reported that Donald Trump's invitation for President Xi to attend the January 20th inauguration was extended in early November, shortly after he won the presidential election. By convention, the U.S. president's inauguration ceremony is attended by high-ranking diplomats, including ambassadors. The record kept by the U.S. Department of State shows that no foreign leaders were ever present at the ceremony since 1874. In a recent interview with NBC, Trump claimed he and Xi got along very well and have a very good relationship, adding that they've exchanged ideas in the past few days. Last week, Chinese ambassador to the U.S. Xie Feng said the two countries need to jointly break new ground and expand new space for cooperation. Xie cited President Xi's remarks that Sino-U.S. relations should always advance the well-being of the two peoples and bring them closer together. But Washington's tariff hikes against China continue. The U.S. Trade Representative announced today that the tariffs on Chinese-made solar wafers and polysilicon will rise to 50%, while duties on certain tungsten products will increase to 25%. This after the Biden administration tightened restrictions on China's access to advanced semiconductor technology last week. The incoming U.S. President Trump also vowed an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods. With his pick of multiple China hardliners for top roles, including nominating Marco Rubio for Secretary of State, Trump has signaled a more hawkish stance towards Beijing in his second term in the White House. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
British farmers protested over tax changes by taking their tractors to the City of London. Tractors deliberately slowing the traffic in central London. Some were draped in flags and carried slogans like "No farmers, no food," and "This is the last straw." Farmers are unhappy because the Labour Party are planning to drop a tax break that exempts agricultural property from inheritance tax. From 2026, farms worth more than £1 million face a 20% tax when the owner dies and passes it to their children. Farmers say this will further deplete their resources, claiming they're already suffering because of bad weather and Brexit. Back locally, the Immigration Department headquarters at Tseung Kwan O has introduced self-service stations for applicants of Hong Kong identity cards. The new system can be used from tomorrow onwards without appointments. The department says it takes only 15 minutes to complete the application process. And it tells us more.
Previously, ID card replacement applicants had to go through application procedures in person. They also had to book appointments before showing up. Through the self-service stations, the Immigration Department now allows residents to complete the application procedures automatically. 44 self-service stations are available for use without appointments at the Tseung Kwan O Immigration Headquarters. The application procedure will include capturing fingerprints and taking ID card photos, all of which can be completed within 15 minutes. Immigration officials say if applicants find it difficult to complete their application, they can seek help from officials. 3 categories of residents may use the self-service stations: those who need to get their adult Hong Kong ID cards, applications for a smart ID card, or people who are given permanent residency. All users must be aged 18 or above. Through the new service stations, the Immigration Department expects to receive an extra 4,000 applications weekly, increasing the original number by 1.5 times. In addition to ID card applications, the self-service stations can also process applications for Hong Kong passports. Ann Ip, TVB News.
Former media tycoon Jimmy Lai continues to take the stand to defend himself against national security charges. Today marks day 108 of Lai's trial, which took place at the West Kowloon Magistracy. The defense displayed a message sent by Lai to former Apple Daily columnist Simon Lee in July 2020, in which Lai noted how former U.S. President Donald Trump would actually sanction China compared with Joe Biden's empty words. When asked whether he was directing Lee to post the content on social media in order to seek American sanctions, Lai noted Trump already made promises to sanction China during his presidential campaign. Responding to why he continued discussions with Simon Lee about U.S. sanctions after the national security law came into effect, Lai said he was not careful enough and did not advocate for sanctions against China. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.